This video is brought to you by Dr. Kristen R. Bromley's Guitar Method Book Series and Online Music Academy.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kristen Bromley. Welcome to my online academy. It's so great to have you joining me here in these online lessons. This is lesson 12 in this series that is all about jazz guitar. I love jazz guitar, as you probably do too. So in this lesson, we're going to do something like we did in the last lesson. We're going to add that major second or major ninth to our dominant seventh arpeggio as we're learning new improv techniques. We're building in new ideas that we can use in addition to the chord tones for major sixth chords we did in the last lesson, and this one we're going to do dominant seventh chords. So it's going to be just great. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. Now, when we add that major second to the dominant seventh arpeggio, it actually creates something called a dominant seventh pentatonic scale. So some of us are probably very familiar with the minor pentatonic scales, 5-note scales. We use those minor pentatonics playing a lot of rock and blues and that sort of thing. We also use them in jazz, as we'll learn later on in the course. In the last lesson, where we had our major sixth arpeggio and then added that second or major ninth to it, we ended up with the major pentatonic scale as well. So I had that one up here on the top, and we worked on that one in the last lesson. We're going to now work on this dominant seventh pentatonic scale, or essentially just our chord tones of that dominant seventh arpeggio, adding that major second or major ninth to it. So a dominant seventh pentatonic scale is a 5-note scale that includes the root, and then that major second, the major third, the perfect fifth, and then that flatted seventh. So just takes our arpeggio and adds that major second to it. So let's go ahead and start looking at these shapes. Now, I've got up here on the board the root on that 6th string, so we're going to look at that form first. And with this one, just like I did in the last lesson, we've got the little asterisks here showing us where this new note has been added to what we've worked on before. So we've got the arpeggio in there, and then this asterisk or star shape shows us where that second step of the scale is, or that major second above the root, or even a major ninth if we were to consider it above the root plus an octave. So a lot of times with this note, especially in this early era, which is kind of where we're playing around right now, you'll hear it treated as both sort of a step in between the root and the third, and you also hear it as like a chord tone, an upper extension, and we're going to learn about upper extensions as we continue through the course, both in how we play the chords and how we improvise. So we get it kind of both ways. So we can really just add it to our improv game, and it just is a nice sound to add. So we're going to go ahead and do that here. Let's look at this one first. As I said, I'm going to go ahead and start with C at that 8th fret of the 6th string. And I'm going to finger index 1, middle 2, ring 3, and pinky 4. When I shout out those numbers, I'm going to go 2, 4, next string, and then I've got 1, 4, and then I can do one of two things. I can shift like I normally do, shift around up here, or I can stick to 2, 4, 1, 3. So I can go 2, 4, 1, 3, or 1, 3, shift up, 1, 3, and then shift up again. So you can kind of decide. It's good to be able to finger both. Right now, I'm going to shift as little as possible, just in principle as I'm demonstrating this. So 2, 4, 1, 3, 2, 4, 1, 3, and then I'm going to shift up, put my index finger at that 8th fret, 1, 4, and then I've got 1, 3. And that's how I went through that. And I can come back down, 1, 4, 1, shift back down, 3, 1, 4, 2, 4, 1, 4, 2. Kind of an interesting sound. If I play it with the other shift in there, I'd have 2, 4, 1, 3, 1, 3, because I shifted up, and then back down, 1, 3, shift back up, 1, 4, 1, 3. So it brings in a lot more shifting to do it that way. But sometimes the way we're fingering a melody, that's going to work best, especially as we start adding other notes. Okay, so you can run through it as much as you need to, and then, like we like to do, we want to take it through some of these keys chromatically. So I'm going to start down on the G on that sixth string. So the 3rd fret of the 6th string will be my root. I'm going to go ret, D, and. Kind of a different sound than we're expecting after hearing our major pentatonic that we played in the last lesson. Okay, up a fret to the 4th fret, we go ready and. And we'll go up to the key of A. A sharp or B flat. And up to B. To C. C sharp or D flat. Up to D. And I'm going to stop there because that's kind of our most practical range like we usually do. And we're good. Let's look at the one off the 5th string. So, same thing, got the asterisks up there, showing us where that major 2nd or major 9th is that's being added to our normal arpeggio for that 5th string form. I also will point out that I've got something here on the low 6th string, which we haven't done before with the 5th string form. And I'm just pointing out here that anything that we do on this top string, we can also do on that low 6th string with this positional area, with this positional form. We don't hardly ever improvise down on these lower strings, so we don't use them very much, but I'm throwing it out there and we're gonna include it here. It's good for us to be aware that those notes are there and just start to see the neck in a little bit broader sense and start making more and more connections. So I'm gonna throw that here. Plus later on, when we're working on soloing in a more contemporary style with these pentatonic shapes, there are different modes in essence of these pentatonic forms, and so we can use them over top of different types of chords in different ways. And so just getting comfortable with this full form a little bit I think is useful at this point before we start using it way down the course in other ways. So I've got it there. So I'm going to do this one, demonstrate here in C, middle finger's on that 3rd fret of the 5th string, and I'm just going to play through it again, saying the numbers. And of course we have different options. I still like with this one to go ahead and shift up with my index finger there and play the top all one position higher than the bottom, and then we have to shift a little bit to catch this as well as we come back down. So you can sometimes do 1 and 3 or 2 and 4. We're just swapping out our fingerings, index and ring versus middle and pinky, and it's good to be able to finger it in all the ways that are possible. But I'm going to go ahead and shift up here like I normally would on this one just for now. So I got 2, 4, then 1, 4, and then I could go 2, 4, but I'm going to shift up, put my index at that 3rd fret, and go index, ring, and then index, ring, and then index, pinky. And then as I come back down, I shift back down, and then I'm going to reach pinky, index, pinky, and then I could end on that index finger if I want to, or shift back because we're going to continue. But again, 2, 4, 1, 4, shift up, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1. Then my pinky's going to grab the next note, shift back down to second position, so my index is at the second fret, and then 4, 2, shift up, 4, 1, 4, and then I could go back to 2 or play 1 there. Alternatively, with this one, I could play everything as is and then just shift up to play that top string. So 2, 4, 1, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 1, 4, and just shift up there. And it's good to be able to do multiple fingerings because depending on the melody and the moment, one may work better than the other. Now, as you're coming down, alternative to reaching with that pinky, you can actually put your index finger on the root, then reach with your pinky, index, and then of course we're back to the index or the middle finger there. We can do it either way. So if I were to come down off of this, for example, from the top, I would have 4, 1, come down, and then I can have my pinky, and then here index, pinky, and then back to the index or middle finger. In that case, I'm just going to my index there. Okay, so play through that shape as many times as you need to. I'm going to go ahead now and take it through chromatically, some of these keys just moving up the neck, starting there with C. So go ready and... C sharp or D flat. Now up to D. Sharp or E flat. Up to E. Sharp or G flat. A little bit of a woo there on my part. Up to G. Okay, and of course, once we've got both of these forms down, I want to take it around the circle of force, which I have up here. Now, if you've been going through the course, hopefully this is sort of really starting to become ingrained. But I've got it there in case you need a screenshot of that circle of force. But we're going to take it through with those roots, starting with that middle finger at the 8th fret, then we up to the next string, then down 2 frets, and we'll do that position, down 2 frets. Then we come back up for G flat at that 9th fret, and then down 2 frets, down 2 frets. Just like we've been doing. We'll go through these scales going back and forth between the two forms. So we're going to go 1, 2, here we go, starting with C. Now F. Now B flat. E flat. Now A flat. D flat. We're going to slide up to G flat, so at that 9th fret, we go ready and down to B. Up to E. To A. D. And G. And C. So just like that. Now, with this, gaining some fluidity, you can do the same types of exercises that I explained in the lessons on the blues tunes that we did just recently, and also the lessons on the actual arpeggios that we did recently as well. So, for example, you can start on the inside root and get comfortable just playing on the top 4 strings, and then start in different places with that. But we're going to go ahead here in the lesson. I have a backing track for us, playing through the dominant 7th chords around the circle of force. We're going to have 8 bars per chord, and we're just going to start trying to bring in this note. Now, a lot of times, I think I mentioned this, but a lot of times in the early era, they weren't really thinking of a dominant 7th pentatonic then, but the 9th was sort of like a chord tone sometimes, and it'd be treated like the upper extension. Other times it's just like a passing tone between that root and 3rd, and it's pretty easy because of that to just go ahead and insert this right into our improv melodies. So we're just going to go ahead and play with it with this backing track. I'll play right over at the top. You can play right along with me, gain any of the ideas or get some ideas on how to do this. This backing track, of course, is also available on the channel in the Jazz Jam Along backing track playlist. You can find it there. Down in the description below, there's a link. You can find the video there, so you can practice over the top of it as much as you want to. We do have on the channel another one that goes around 8 bars per chord around the circle of force with the dominant 7th chords. That one goes at 101 beats per minute. This one's going to go at 121 beats per minute. So as we're getting comfortable here, boosting up the speed just a little bit. So you can have both. You can practice it with either one. But okay, let's go ahead. In the snare drum, we'll hear and 4 and then we're in that key of C, starting right there with our middle finger at that 8th fret in that position. You don't have to start on that note, but that's the position we'll be in. Let's do it. So starting in C. Now F. Now B flat. E flat. Now A flat. D flat. Now up to G flat. Now B. Now E. Now A. Now D. Now G. Now C. All right, super fun. I hope it's fun at least. It's fun for me. Even after all these years just sitting inside of a certain way of approaching an exercise like that, like going through the circle of force, improvising, it really brings out creativity as we're just restricting ourselves to certain things and we gain control over those parameters, builds into our improvisation skills, creates a foundation, and then really gives us more control when we open the door to a whole bunch more things, which we'll continue to do as we progress through this course. Now, with this one, before I end this lesson, I want to point out, I talked about how this second or ninth can be treated as both a passing tone in between that root and third, sort of in a stepwise fashion, and it can also be treated as a chord tone, as an upper extension. And with that, if we look back at this in the arpeggio sense, and let's say for a second here, we skip where it's the one that's above the root. If you skip that one, but play this one here and skip the root. So if we skip that root and that, we get a dominant seventh arpeggio that goes up to the ninth. So I'm starting here in C just as a demonstration, and I've got my middle finger there. Middle, index, so I'm going root 3, 5. So I skipped over that second step. And then I've got the flatted seventh, and then if I reach up to that ninth, I get a dominant ninth arpeggio. Now this is something that we'll do a lot as we progress forward in the course, work with arpeggios that add these upper extensions, but you can start working on that now and just starting to see that, oh, I can do this stepwise motion as I'm playing with that second, but I can also skip from that flatted seventh up to that ninth and get that dominant ninth sound. And we'll be learning that sound in the chords as we progress through the course as well. So then in this other one, I would have my middle index, and then it's in the same fret, so I like to you can just collapse. Whatever finger you're using to play that with, you just collapse. So if I'm using my index, I can do it, or if I'm using my middle. So that creates a dominant ninth arpeggio. And for this one here, we actually have 2 octaves we can do it in. So on that higher octave, I play my little dominant 7th arpeggio, and then I catch that 9th instead of the root on top, which is really all we're doing. We're throwing the 9th in place of the root on top. We use that in modern and in these early styles. Now, in this early style, it's not unusual to sort of treat that 9th as a chord tone, and we can use it just going back and forth between the root and in a stepwise fashion with that root to the 3rd coming in there, and we can use it sort of in that arpeggiated fashion where it's going to sound kind of like a chord tone sitting above that flatted 7th. So just wanted to point that out for you now that you've had a chance to play along with me or listen to me and get some ideas. The backing track is available, a link in the description below if you want to jam along with that without me playing over the top of it. I hope you're having so much fun learning this guitar stuff. So in the next lesson, we're going to add another trick to this. It's actually going to be adding in sort of a bluesy element, which is super cool. So we're going to start adding that into our chords here as we're learning to improvise. It's going to be awesome. Take care, keep at this guitar thing, have fun, and I'll see you again. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. For more in-depth lessons and to progress through a free guitar course, check out my Guitar 101 series on YouTube and my guitar method books, which all come with access to hours of in-depth video lessons. You can find more information about me and my products at kristenbromley.com. Take care.